Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'll be reacting to Sadhguru at the United Nations Yoga, the Power of Inclusion. Now, inclusion has been a word that's been kind of ruined in some sense. I'm sure most people know when some people say inclusion, they really don't really mean it. But there is obviously a right way to do it. Now, let's see, this was a request, by the way, so if you have a request, please leave it in the comments below. Please leave the title, the channel, and the length. That way when I search for it, I can find it. It's like, oh, this is, sometimes the channels will have multiple of the same video. I know Lakhani does, or Hindu Academy does. That's why I say leave the link, the length, like 10 minutes, 25 seconds, or something like that. That way I know which one. Don't leave the link. You can if you want, but generally speaking, I think those gets put in held for review because people spam. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Geneva. So far, I'll say.
Good evening. Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudevji, Mr. Francis Gurry, Director General, World Intellectual Property Organization, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, Chief Scientist, World Health Organization, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this event to celebrate the 5th UN International Day of Yoga at this prestigious venue, the very first designed to be a platform to bring the world together in a spirit of cooperation and inclusion to address issues facing mankind. It was 100 years ago that the League of Nations was conceived, and these very premises were meant to host it. In 2014, the initiative of the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, himself a dedicated and long-standing practitioner of yoga, to have 21st June declared as an International Day of Yoga, won the overwhelming endorsement of the international community. As the relevant UN General Assembly resolution notes, yoga provides a holistic approach to health and well-being, and that the wider dissemination of information about the benefits of practicing yoga would be beneficial for the health of the world population. Traditionally, we have celebrated International Yoga Day by practicing the asanas, or physical postures, contained in the common yoga protocol, which was developed by the Government of India in consultation with leading yoga experts and institutions in India.
I was looking up to see if the Google Calendar had, was it June 11th, right? As International Yoga Day, and it's not on there. And I went to July just in case I misheard it, and it's still not on there either. And also the League of Nations. I was trying to remember which assembly group was there before the UN.
However, this year we thought of broadening the approach to exploring the many other dimensions of yoga beyond the physical that are particularly relevant to the issues that the different stakeholders in International Geneva seek to address, those of global health and sustainable development, as well as peace and disarmament. Our engagement on these issues requires us all to work in a spirit of cooperation and compromise, making sure that no one is left behind. However, this spirit of inclusion at the international level cannot come about if it is not reflected in our individual lives and approaches. It is here that we can harness the power of yoga, the very essence of which is union both within and without. Hence the theme, Yoga, the Power of Inclusiveness. The Permanent Mission of India to the UN in Geneva is grateful that Sadhguru, India's leading yogi, mystic, and one of the 50 most influential persons in India, who has been conferred the country's second highest civilian award in 2017, consented to engage in this conversation on yoga. We could not have found two more distinguished personalities to engage with Sadhguru than Mr. Francis Gurry, who is not only the head of WIPO, but also an avid practitioner of yoga for over 3 decades. and Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, who brings her extensive global health perspective and expertise to the conversation as the chief scientist of the World Health Organization, where traditional knowledge and complementary medicine are seeing renewed focus. As an emergent India plays a greater role on the world stage, it is with a positive intent and determination to contribute to the betterment of mankind. Yoga is one such contribution by India for the better health and greater happiness of people all over the world. Yoga has now truly become the intellectual property of mankind. I wish to thank you all for coming here today to be part of the 2019 International Day of Yoga celebrations, and hope you enjoy the conversation on yoga, the power of inclusiveness. Thank you very much.
So I didn't really get a chance to see a lot of the people in there, but at least from the front I can see it looks like it's mostly Indian people. I have a feeling no one else in the Western world or any other parts of the world probably is here.
Yugaratova Bhogaratova Sangaratova Sangavihina Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam Nandati Nandati Nandateva Nandati Nandati Nandateva. Good evening to everyone. Well, I think the meaning has been put up there. The important thing is, people think yoga means I must be like a rubber band. Yoga does not demand any particular condition. Wherever you are, there is a next step in yoga. Whatever kind of person you are, whatever kind of mental, physical, emotional states you are, there is a next step from where you are. That's what yoga is about. The chant is just to acknowledge that. Thank you. Ma.
Thank you very much, Sadhguru. It's a great honor and privilege.
This is okay. Microphone.
Thank you. I was wondering where the mic was and I thought there was some magic.
You need a beard for that.
So it's indeed a great honor and privilege to be in conversation with you, Sadhguru. I would like to start with the theme of inclusiveness, since that's what the Yoga Day is about, and the theme, as our ambassador pointed out, and the Prime Minister in his message also talked about all the benefits that can come from practicing yoga. You know, science has shown that all human beings are basically the same. We share 99.9% of our DNA. So if a genome, the genes that make up our body, the DNA, if it were a book, then every person's book would contain the same paragraphs and chapters arranged in the same order. And each book would tell the same story. But my book may contain a spelling, a slightly different spelling on page 130 of the word color from your book. Or my book might have a typing error on one page, just one letter misspelt. So that's what science tells us, but we see…
A misspelled word is enough to fight about. Is enough reason to fight.
Exactly. So if we spell color with O-U-R or color with O-R, it's a difference between the two sides of the Atlantic. But what we are seeing increasingly is the world being divided on the basis of ethnicity, of race, of religion, of color, of belief, of sexual orientation, disabilities. Some of this is conscious, some of this is not conscious. We see large number of people on the move now, refugees and migrants who have had to leave their homes and are living in camps for many months or years together. So when we talk about diversity, very often, organizationally we think only about gender diversity, ethnic diversity. But don't you think that the real diversity the world must tackle is the fragmentation of knowledge to solve the problems that we have today, and the fragmentation of ethical belief systems to guide our moral choices? We see inequalities and iniquities increasing. You mentioned that we live in a world today where for the first time there is enough for everybody, and yet there are large numbers of people who don't have the very basic needs. If inclusiveness is the very basis of spirituality, how can we enable communities, especially our young people, to grow up with the belief of inclusiveness and the fact that diversity is important and we have to respect everybody in the community and provide everybody equal opportunities?
Let me see, hopefully this will work. We have to respect everyone. I would not phrase it that way. My phrasing would be, we have to give everyone a certain level of respect. The basic level of respect. Only reason why is because there are people out there that I don't believe anyone deserves respect. I don't believe anyone deserves anything. But I do believe there should be a certain level of respect that you should give everyone. Maybe that's what she's saying, but I just want to clear that up. Just because there are some people out there who are terrible human beings, or there are some people out there who will take advantage of you who don't deserve respect. I do believe everyone earns respect, but everyone has to start off at a certain level of respect.
Can yoga show us the way?
We are inclusive not by choice. We are inclusive by the nature of our existence. Every day we are in this process, every moment of our life, by eating, drinking, breathing and many other things, we are showing that we are inclusive. If we resist this, we will cease to exist. It's only by constant transaction with just about anything and everything that we are existing here. The complexity of what makes this creation, we are a consequence of that. But the magnanimity of creation has given us an individual experience. It's a tremendous thing. Though we are just a speck in the universe, still we have an individual experience. We sit here and experience like we're individuals. This is a phenomenal magnanimity from creation. But we've taken this individual experience rather too seriously. So seriously that we think we are a world by ourselves, each person. When your personal universe does not work very well, you will gather 10 people and then there is a battle. Endlessly it's going on. When we are 2 people, we will quarrel. When we are 10 people, we will fight. When we are 1,000,000 people, we have a war. It's the same thing. The mechanics is the same thing. Because we have taken our individual experience of life rather too seriously. In this cosmic space, this solar system itself is a speck, a tiny speck. In that tiny speck, planet Earth is a micro speck. In that micro speck, Geneva is a super micro speck. In that, you're a big man. Fortunately, ladies don't like to be referred to as big, so it's only one part of the population. A man wants to be a big man. So, this whole thing has happened to us simply because the boundaries of your individuality, you have taken it too seriously. If you pay on the surface, you're you, I'm me, 100%. This is my body, that's your body. No way to mix this up. This is my mind, that's your mind. Here and there, our minds may overlap, but anyway, this is my mind, that's your mind. But there is no such thing as my life and your life. The life that we are, this is a living cosmos. You captured some, I captured some. Now, what yoga means is, the boundaries that we have drawn with the instrument of body and mind, you consciously obliterate, so that when you sit here, your experience of life is not contained just to the limitations of your body or your thinking process or your emotional process. Your ability to experience life as a life, not as a body. Because if you experience this life as a body, this is me, that is you, there is no way to mix this. If you go as a mind or a thought process, this is me, that is you, no way to mix it up. But if you go as a life, fundamental life process, there is no distinction between this and that, not just between two human beings, between everything and everything, there is no distinction. So the word yoga means union, that you consciously obliterated the boundaries of your individuality. That is why you know a sense of union. We are anyway in union with the existence. The problem is, it's not in our experience because we are too caught up with our individual experience. The basis of your individual experience is a very flimsy thing, in the sense, right now, if you… Can we experiment with you? Hello? Take your right hand and touch your left hand and see. Is that you? Hello? Is that you? Touch the chair on which you're sitting, is that you? No. How do you know this? How do you know this is me, this is not me? Sensation, isn't it? Here there is sensation, here there is no sensation. So the way you are identifying what is me and what is not me is just that where there is your sensation, it's me. Where there is no sensation, it's not you. Right now there's a glass of water here, is that you? No. If you drink it, does it become you? What is it that you did? All you did was, you included this into the boundaries of your sensation. Isn't that the way you have grown? Hello? Isn't that the way you have grown? What was not you yesterday, has it become you today? So, anything that is within the boundaries of your sensation is experienced as myself. What yoga means is, you stretch the boundaries of your sensations. As there is a physical body, there is a sensory body. If your sensory body expands, let us say your sensory body became as large as this hall, then you will experience all these people as a part of yourself. As you experience the 5 fingers as yourself, you will experience all these people as yourself. Even for a moment, if you experience all these people as a part of yourself, after that, do I have to teach you morals, ethics, be good to this person, don't kill this person, don't harm this person? Would you need teachings? I'm asking you. This is what yoga means. It is not a teaching, it is not a philosophy, it is not an ideology, it is a technology of obliterating the boundaries of your individuality, because your individual nature is your psychological pattern that you have created.
Sorry, I haven't paused in a little bit, but I do want to say something on that. I know that's probably quite difficult to grasp for a lot of people, and even for myself just a little bit. I understand what he's talking about, but I look at it in a different way, and that's basically just a golden rule in general, where you treat others the way you want to be treated. If you want to be treated, let me see, if you treat people badly, then you should expect to be treated badly from those people as well. And just even that basic concept that's very easy to understand, very simple, some people still struggle with that. They think people with ego. See, whenever Swami was talking about egos, Swami Sarvapriyananda, I think of people with think they're higher or more superior or superior to other people. Egos. But he uses ego based on the waking world, dreamer world, sleeper world. But yes, even a simple concept, something that's very easy to understand, is treat others the way you want to be treated. Some people don't get that. This one, it's a bit more complex to understand, just because we obviously understand that our sensory can only go as far as our body, or where our skin, our body's at. That's it. But I don't know how to expand my sensory organ. That's weird to say, sensory organ. My sensory perception, I suppose. But I don't really necessarily need to do that when I understand that when I cause harm to other people, that it's a bad thing. Or even, how do I say, again, the golden rule being a very extremely simple concept to understand. Some people still just don't understand that.
Nothing else says you're individual. If you don't understand what I'm saying, keep your mouth closed, hold your nose for 2 minutes, you will know you're not an individual.
Oh, real quick, if you don't want an interruption on this video, the video is going to be in the description below. You can exit out this video immediately and just watch it uninterrupted on their channel, Sadhguru's channel.
I think what you say makes a lot of sense. And yet, you know, it's very intuitive the way you explain it, but it's not part of our educational system. It's not part of the thought process. More and more people are growing up in urban environments, far away from nature, far away from the experiences you need to feel one with the environment. And so we have to, I think, consciously promote this thought, and particularly I think for decision makers and policy makers, it's really important to have this philosophy. When they think about making a policy, what impact is it going to have? Not just on yourself or your neighbors, but on the wider community, on the water, on the land, on the forest, on the air. Unless we start thinking about each and every policy like that, I don't think, you know, we can appreciate really this oneness of being that you described.
See, if you take something as a value or a philosophy or an ideology, this will work when you and me sit on separate chairs like this. Suppose there is little space, 5 of us have to sit on the same chair, that's when the trouble begins, okay? You got your big chair, I got my big chair, no problem. But if 3-4 of us have to sit on that chair, now trouble begins. Well, you can have philosophies, love everybody. Can you? I'm asking you genuinely, please tell me.
No.
You will love selectively, isn't it? Love thy neighbor. Can you love your nasty neighbor?
Exactly.
You are not, okay? It is nice to say these things because it helps to cool you a little bit.
No, it's a way to get brownie points from people like, oh, I love everyone. Secretly you hate some people.
But when life puts you to test, it won't last. You've seen it again and again. You said it is not the nature of our education, 100%, that's where the problem is. The real problem is in the way we are educating our generations of people. The question is not about what, it is the way we are doing it. Right now, our education system is 100% dependent upon human intellect. We are treating intellect as the only dimension of intelligence existing in this human being. If I ask you a simple question, you must answer this question because I'm going to bless you. Do you want your intellect sharp or blunt? Okay. Those of you who didn't say anything, blessed. So I'll give you one more chance. Sharp or blunt? Sharp, for sure. Intellect should be sharp. Why? Because it's a cutting instrument. It's like a knife, it's like a scalpel. The sharper it is, the better it is. A knife is a good cutting instrument. If you want to dissect something, you need a razor-sharp knife. it's good to have it. But now you want to sew your clothes, but you do it with your knife. You will be in tatters. That's all that's happening to the world. Tell me, who is messing up the world? Educated people or uneducated people? Hello? Educated people, because this is the nature of their education. They think they can fix everything with their intellect. They are not even acknowledging other dimensions of intelligence which exist in your system. When I say other dimensions of intelligence, there are… in yoga, we look at human mind as 16 dimensions. Let's not go there, it's a long thing. Simply, to come very simply to this, if you eat… it's mango season, though I am in Geneva, I can talk mangoes, right? Suppose you eat a mango, whether you're a man, woman or a cow or a goat, it goes into you and becomes who you are, isn't it? Hello? Mango doesn't look like you, taste like you, feel like you, but it goes into you and becomes like you in you. If you're a woman, it becomes a woman, if you're a man, it becomes a man, if you're a cow, it becomes a cow, if you're a goat, it becomes a goat. Very smart mango, you think? Hello? Now there is an intelligence here in this one, whatever comes here, it knows it has to be made into this. If I take a mango in my hand and make it into a human being, who would you think I am?
A deity.
Very creator, isn't it? So the very source of creation is functioning within you. The problem with us is, we have been taught all kinds of things. Somebody said those who are deprived of love in their life, that they could not love anybody around them or nobody around them loved them, they said God is love. Somebody who's fallen under desperate conditions, they said God is compassion. But if you don't assume anything, if you are looking at creation, because you can only see the creation, you have never seen the creator, all right? If you look at the creation, if you look at a flower, if you look at a leaf, if you look at a blade of grass, intelligence, 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 isn't it? Phenomenal intelligence, yes or no? But nobody said God is intelligence. If you had said this one thing, we would have much smarter world today. Because creation is the highest level of intelligence you have seen. You're just one little product of that, isn't it so? Hello? With all your brains, you still not figured out one atom in its entirety. We know how to use it, we know how to break it, we know how to fuse it, but we don't know what it is. Because the basis of creation is a phenomenal intelligence, beyond anything that you can imagine. So if creation is such intelligence, the source of creation must be a fantastic dimension of intelligence. But we said all kinds of things to manage social situations. But if you really pay attention to your own system, the way it is working, is it working because of you? Hello? Can you operate your kidneys, I'm asking? Can you make your liver go better? No. It is not happening because of you, it's happening in spite of you. Yes or no? There's a tremendous intelligence here. How come you think you can never access that? How come you think you can only function from the little bit of memory that you have gathered in the name of education, and you can only use that little bit of memory? Let's understand this. Because in the next 5–10 years, artificial intelligence is going to come big time. People who read 10 books became scholars. People who read one book became religious. People who read 1,000 books suddenly became so many things. By memory, isn't it? We are misunderstanding memory to be intelligence. This is the biggest mistake humanity has made. Memory is like this, my memory is my memory, your memory is your memory, isn't it? Isn't this the boundary? Hello? Isn't this the boundary? That my memory is like this, your memory is like that. This is the boundary. We have misunderstood memory as intelligence. So we are all become small islands of our own. We are identified with our knowledge. Whatever knowledge you have, if you have read the libraries on this planet, Still, compared to this cosmos, you are a minuscule knowledge, yes or no? Hello? Because many of you are doctor, I'm asking. I'm not trying to insult you, but is it not minuscule compared to the nature of this cosmos, of what's happening here? If you identify with your knowledge, you become that minuscule. Now you have your own world, I have my own world, but our ignorance is boundless. If you identify with your ignorance, we are all together. This is what yoga means. We are always identified with our ignorance, because our ignorance is limitless and our ignorance is seamless. Our ignorance does not separate you and me, because what I do not know, if you see I do not know, your intelligence is constantly alert. The moment you think I know, your intelligence sleeps. If you want to do an experiment, if I ask you to walk from there to there, you will walk, maybe being self-conscious, everybody's watching you. But if I turn off all the lights and make this pitch dark, if I ask you to walk from here to there, you become super alert, isn't it? Hello? Because the power of ignorance, you don't know where the next step is, suddenly everything in you is alert. This is the way you're supposed to live. But the moment you gather a certain amount of memory and identify with that, you sleep through your life. In India, the word that is used for enlightenment is always awakening. When you're already awake, how to awaken you? Because everybody is not awake to the same extent. You can become awake in various levels and dimensions. So the idea is to be fully awake, because your wakefulness is your life. Hello? If you're asleep, would you know that you're alive? Your wakefulness is your life. How awake is how rich and inclusive your life is. Right now, the problem is just this, we are identified with our own little memory pools. So every one of us is a world by ourselves.
I would like to take the theme of technology and artificial intelligence you mentioned a little further. See, previous industrial revolutions have liberated humankind from animal power, it has made mass production possible, and it has brought digital capabilities to billions of people. But the fourth industrial revolution, everyone believes is fundamentally different, because it is characterized by a range of new technologies that is able to cross the boundaries between the physical, the digital, and the biological worlds. And this impacts, therefore, all disciplines. It in fact are…
Sorry, I'm gonna rewind that real quick. Between the physical, the digital, and biological world. What's the difference between the physical and biological? I think biological is physical. I just want to make sure there's… What does she mean by that? Digital, obviously that makes sense. Physical makes sense. Unless she's talking about like the mechanical world as opposed to a biological world.
And this impacts, therefore, all disciplines. It impacts our day-to-day life, it impacts economies, industries, and it has even started challenging us about what it means to be human. We have these mega computers that are able to beat humans at different tasks. So the resulting shifts and disruptions mean that we live in a time of great promise, but also great peril. The world has the potential to connect billions of more people to digital networks. We can dramatically improve the efficiency of organizations and even manage assets, our natural assets, in a way perhaps that we can minimize environmental damage or even try to repair some of the damage that we have done. But if organizations are unable to adapt, if governments fail to regulate new technologies and to capture for their benefits, if shifting power creates new security concerns, then inequalities may grow and societies get further fragmented. And perhaps what we could perhaps call a digital divide might then start, one more divide that might start dividing societies. In fact, the WHO has been looking very seriously at this issue, and we're looking into not just the new technologies, and the public health benefits, but what the potential risks could be, especially what are the ethical, social, moral, legal implications of new technologies like artificial intelligence, gene editing, gene-drive mosquitoes, and so on. So really the central question is, how can technologies enable a meaningful future for humankind? And what role should humans play in an increasingly machine-dominated world? How can values and ethics become part of the technological development process?
Sorry, I'm going to, and what role should humans play in an increasingly machine-dominated world? Well, that's the interesting question, because I do believe Amazon is in fact incorporating a lot of machinery into their factories that's going to be replacing a lot of human human jobs, people jobs. But there is going to be this transition, I do believe, where eventually maybe computers is going to be handling all manual labor, or essentially all jobs, and the only thing that humans have to do is just live life. What role should humans play in an increasingly machine-dominated world? Live life, basically. But the transition is going to be painful, probably. I have no proof of that, but and what is this transition? Well, as more and more jobs are shifted to robots, machines, less and less people are having work. Things are not going to be free just immediately. Just because your job's been taken away by a machine doesn't mean that all of a sudden you get a free ride. No, you still have to pay, you still have to work until all jobs are done by machines and no one has to work. I mean, you kind of look at and this is something I had a discussion with a friend. You got to look at how jobs are changing now. There are a lot more it used to take a lot of people to run a farm, because everyone has to, work on the farm. There's no machines. Now there's tractors and all these machines at the farm. Now one person can run an entire farm pretty much. I even seen one cow farm where there's almost no human interactions with the cow. The cow, whenever it wants to be milked, will just walk into this place and everything's run by machine. The machine will find the udder and do the milking, and the cow will just walk off. The cow willingly goes into these things because I'm guessing it's kind of painful, I think, for the cow, I've heard. So they want to be milked, you could say. But yes, so yeah, you're looking where you need a lot of people on the farm. Now there's only one person that can practically do all the farming by himself, and all those jobs are gone. No more farming jobs. At least not as many people are needed for farms. You look at self-checkout in groceries. It used to be you need a few cashiers in the front, because if there's a lot of people, you need to be able to check them out quickly. Otherwise, they're going to put back their stuff and not buy. Now with self-checkouts, now you have one person watching like 6 self-checkouts. That's loss of cashiers. Well, you still need people stock, and I haven't seen any change in that. And I will say they did incorporate, like, pickup. I don't know if it's out there or not, but over here, where I'm sure in ever since the pandemic, you can actually order online and then drive up there and pick up your groceries and not have to go inside any kind of store. Some certain stores. So what they do is they have extra. Now the job's lost at the cashier. Now they have people going out picking up your groceries for you, putting in a bag, and then they put it into your car. That's pretty nice. There's some jobs gain, but I think overall we might have some jobs lost in certain areas, especially manual labor. But you also look at YouTube. There's a lot more people doing YouTube now. That's a job that was never existed prior. So there are the job openings, or the ways we find a way to earn money is different now. It's a lot of online stuff, a lot of digital things. So we're shifting from manual to entertainment, digital work, I guess you could say. It's a transition. But I just don't know, like, it's going to be like, a lot of people come like, man, I wish I started YouTube sooner, when I was young. Yeah, now it's becoming flooded. There's a lot of personalities in YouTube, and you can't watch them all.
What role should humans play in an increasingly machine-dominated world? How can values and ethics become part of the technological development process?
How can values and ethics become part of? Whew, that is a tough one. That's all dependent on the human being first and foremost, and technology has nothing to do with that. Although I will say that technology is supposed to make our lives a lot easier, easier to communicate with family and friends. It allowed us to communicate all around the world, but yet we do it to meme and and trash talk and all of that. But you know what? That's the internet for you.
You know, I remember this situation probably in '70s. When in the Mumbai docks, which is called as the Mazagon docks, they installed the first gantry. And all the labor, the coolies who were there went on strike protesting. It was a major strike. Because till then, the vessels which came were unloaded by men carrying sacks out. Those days, most of the vessels were of a capacity of 25 to 30,000 tons were the largest vessels. Today, most vessels are over 100,000 and even 250,000 tons kind of vessels. So they were taking anywhere between 26 to 28 days to unload one ship. And they went on strike because what are we supposed to do? What do we do with our muscle? That's a question. So man's muscle became irrelevant.
That's something I'm sorry, I'm pausing it now, but that is something I thought of. I don't know how far back, but it's just the fact that I was thinking this. We are making men, in a sense, irrelevant. We have so many tools and power equipments that strength is no longer becoming something I don't want to say unique to men, but something that's not really needed. And that's something that men provided in the past, and now I think everyone wants to be wanted, and men had the strength. That's how they were wanted. Now we're kind of pushing that off in a sense. Man's muscle became irrelevant, so we'll find other ways, but…
Because the machine came. To all the ladies, I want you to understand, all of you are here today not because there's been a serious evolution in human consciousness, simply because of technology, that man's muscle does not determine how big or small you are. If muscle determined who should rule this place, still situations would be still the same. So from muscle to machine we shifted. Now again a time is coming, people who have a certain amount of memory, which they call as education, scholarship or religiosity or whatever, they're all feeling threatened. The strange thing is, they're inviting me to all kinds of artificial intelligence conferences. Say, why are you inviting me? I'm not artificial. They're saying, no, but if this comes, what will happen? We lose our jobs. I said, that's fantastic.
You can live life now.
If all of you lose your jobs, it's fantastic. Because even when I went to school, I just thought, somebody just read a book a few years ahead of me. How come they're acting so superior? They just read a book ahead of me, a few years ahead, that's all. If I had come 15, 20 years ahead, I would have also read the damn book. So just by holding some memory in your mind, we've been acting big, just like muscular people were acting big at one time. They were the kings. If you had big muscles, you became a king at one time. Today, we will put you out there at the gate. So the same thing will happen now in a different way. Your memory will be of no value. It's a great time, because today my phone has 600 GB memory, it can do 10 PhDs a day. It has enough knowledge to do its own thing. So these days are coming, this is fantastic. Why do we fear technology? We fear technology because of the kind of people who will handle it. That's a problem. Technology is a fantastic facilitator. Technology is a big relief from a huge burden we've been carrying on our heads, but we fear this well-being because we have not taken care of what kind of human beings we create on this planet. We have not focused on that. We have not focused, our education systems have not focused on what sort of human beings we produce in this world. We're trying to fix it with 5 ethics or morals or don't do this, do this. This is not going to work. Forever they have taught and these things have not worked because you cannot restrain a human being by telling him, do this, don't do this. If there was a sense of inclusiveness, as we went through this earlier, if you sat here and experienced all of them as part of yourself, you will not need any kind of guideline from anybody. You will not do anything unnecessary for somebody else, isn't it? This is yoga. Yoga means there is a union with everything around you. Right now, we are valuing only people's memory. Well, we will produce machines which will have 1,000,000 GB.
Like, how's this GB? I've never heard anyone say gigabyte as GB.
All right? So your brains cannot contain that much. So now it becomes significant. We are coming to a time where human consciousness will become the most important thing. One thing the machine cannot do is to be conscious. So what kind of a human being you are will become more important than what nonsense you carry in your head. Isn't it great time? Hello? Great times are coming.
I will say this. This is one thing I kind of had an issue with some discussions with some people. It's the fact that it's like, oh yeah, they're not teaching this in school, they're not teaching this in school. It's like, my gosh, man, you know, if the school is supposed to teach everything, then what's the responsibility of your parents or your friends or society in general? Now, I'm not saying anyone else is responsible for teaching you anything, but, and you're responsible for learning yourself as well. I mean, I've taught myself a few things. I won't say a lot of things, probably a lot, doubt it, but a few things, I will say that at the very least. I didn't know how to start up a retirement plan. You think I'm young, why are you retiring? It's like, well, you have to, if you start ahead, get a head start on something like YouTube or Bitcoin, you know, you'd be rich today. So retirement plans, start thinking about that. In the United States, there's a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, I believe. Traditional is your job, what you put in and what your job puts in. And a Roth IRA is one that you put in on your own with your own money. So I didn't know anything about this. Somehow I just randomly ran into this on YouTube and I started learning about it. And I started doing it on my own. I learned how to do my own taxes, kinda. I mean, it's pretty simple. They kind of tell you to guide you what to do. And then also, hopefully they don't come back on me on that one though. I think I filled it out right for the most part. And then you got to look also at, like, there's a whole bunch of things. Like right now, I'm learning how to, I want to be able to clean properly my car. So like I bought like gloves just to, so whenever I put chemicals on my car to clean it, it won't, you know, completely harm my hands. But yeah, this is a fantastic time now. If you have the internet, if you have access to the internet and YouTube, you can learn so many things. You can learn about how to buy a house, how to buy a car, how to start your own business, how to brush your teeth, take a shower, how to poop, I'm sure. But there's so many things to learn, and this is something that schools are not. I don't believe schools to be responsible for these things necessarily. Schools, like, I could only imagine one day when schools like, man, I wish schools will teach our children how to take a shower. You're like, are you serious? No, schools are supposed to teach the basic stuff about not life. That's not the responsibility of school. The education system is supposed to teach you how to read, write, do math, a little bit of science, a little bit of everything, just to have some knowledge on things and maybe hopefully teach you something that you want to delve into. It's like, oh, I'm interested in computer science or taxes or you know, whatever it may be. And there's a lot of things that should be held responsible from your parents, yourself, or society in general. I don't believe in saying that they have to teach these things, but I do believe these to be the responsible of mostly your parents and yourself, to teach you how to be a good person, because, you know, you don't want, the schools may have a bias in what's a good person or not, who to hate or not. I don't think schools should be teaching what's right or wrong. I think they should be teaching you what's fact or fiction. So being a good person, taxes is, you know, you can actually take a course from that, I'm pretty sure. But there are certain responsibilities that you parents and yourself have and the school has, and those has to be separate. This being one of them. You can't expect the schools to teach everything. Then what's the point of having a parent? That's the parent's job, in my opinion.
So we should not fear technology. Well, as you said, laws to regulate this, that you can do, but within no time, there'll be technologies to circumvent those laws, as you're seeing always. Well, all these years, if you make a law, it takes 15, 20 years to circumvent it. The time is coming, if you make a law, within 3 days, they'll circumvent it. Yes, because the capability is such. So these are great times that none of your laws will work. The only thing that'll work is, what sort of human being are you? Then human energy, human education, everything needs to focus on what sort of human beings do we produce. This should become the prime interest of humanity, that what kind of a human being am I? Am I inclusive or exclusive? This is a basic question.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna pause right there because I'm gonna go over for sure. But yes, I mean, this is definitely the one thing I think that's kind of lacking in. At least I can only speak of the United States for the most part. There's a lot of, how do I say, a ruined families, you could say, single parenthood, because people are so self-centered that they want the absolute perfect whatever and they think they can get it. There's egos out there that's being overly inflated because I won't say specifically, but there are certain things out there that overinflate a certain ego, so therefore they believe that they can choose anything, and then just constantly being ran through so many different people, and we overinflate our value. We are not humbled. We're not humble, and we think that we are. I'm not saying we, as in me, or just trying to hide the specific groups here, but yeah, self-centered, egotistical, only care about themselves kinds of groups of people, and if only they could just humble themselves and realize they're not the center of the universe, I think the world would be better. World would be a better place, at least in the United States. And this is the problem that we have in the United States, is because those things that I say that I wish that they have is so overinflated in the U.S. right now, and it's causing a lot of problems because they're not willing to work, they're not willing to bend, they're not willing to compromise. It's just 100%. It's all or nothing in a sense. So anyways, that's part 1 of Sadhguru at the United Nations Yoga, the Power of Inclusion. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.